Chapter 6. Hey now, Wren. The rumor mill was working overtime. Now, not only did most of the ship know that they had traveled to the future, but apparently the ship out there, Khayyam, also had their drive down. Not only that, but in the surrounding space was an absence of the components necessary to create negative mass. No negative mass, no bubble warp in space, no drive. It's literally become an impossible engine, was how Eastman was explaining it now, over a cup of matcha, completely antithetical to the nature of propulsion. We're still getting home, though, right? Perla Shaw, Wren's co-worker on the Intel watch, took a sip of her milk tea and let the cup sit briefly on her lips, closing her eyes as if she was seeking calm in the middle of the busy lounge. Eastman leaned in toward Perla. Between you and me, I'm skeptical. The captains are apparently meeting face to face tonight. That means they're not worried about timeline contamination. So, Wren interjected, we had repair crews all over the ship already, and they were still talking about getting us home then. Eastman looked at her in surprise, as if he had forgotten she was there. Apparently, he was focused on showing off for Perla and nothing else. It's different, he said, seeming irritated. The repair crews were unavoidable. Do we know any more? She asked. Anything about these people? Eastman looked at her curiously. Why do you care, Yilmaz? I haven't seen you care about anything ever. I used to. I did. You seem really out of sorts after repair duty, Perla mused. Something about this is spooking you. Brilliant analysis, Shaw, Wren grumbled. If that was the best the Intel Watch could do, it was doubly more insulting that Lanson took away her credentials. Okay, that wasn't fair. Perla was good at her job, but Wren was better. Hells, before leaving Corrales to join the Union fleet, she had worked as an operative in her home province of Milnersk. They started them young back there. Wren had been 14. Speaking of analysis, Perla said, guess who needs you to do his paperwork during your night shift? She shot Wren a sympathetic look. They were all sympathetic, her peers. Lanson, that waddling taint circus, Wren acknowledged. He wasn't even supposed to be the head of the unit. He had somehow weaseled his way in when their real sheep, Floria, went on extended leave. What, did he want you to be his messenger again? I think he knows you wouldn't shoot me. She looked at her Crotto. Crap, we need to get to work. Perla got up to leave for the watch floor, barely giving Eastman a glance goodbye. Wren scrambled to catch up with her. Ugh, Pearls. You gotta help me out, man. I can't convince Lanson to give you your credentials back, Yilmaz. I'm sorry. I know Gloria let you do the same work as us, but Lanson's by the book. Technically, if you're an admin, you can't access the reporting on your own. But I'm only an admin because I know Commander Riley's screwing you over. I get it. Perla slowed and shot Wren another look of sympathy. Just hold out until Gloria gets back from sabbatical. Lanson's opinion won't matter then, and you'll get your job back. Yeah, if they ever got back to their present. Wren slowed her steps, alarm growing. Apart from the very real, tragic possibility of being ripped away from their friends and family in familiar time, was she going to be stuck with Lanson forever? Wren got to her station and logged in, fielding all the filing requests and slide updates that had come in during the day. The tasks were marked priority, in some cases urgent, which Wren had to believe were holdovers from before they accidentally traveled decades into the future. I don't know. Something's telling me we're never getting back, came a voice, echoing her thoughts. Daya. Great. Her most obnoxious coworker, barring Lanson. Even worse, she was one of Wren's hated bunkmates. Wren looked to see who she was talking to, but it looked like Daya was speaking to no one in particular. What makes you say that? Wren asked, against her better judgment. Telemetry from the future ship, Daya replied. Usually, she acted like deigning to speak to Wren was a chore. The two of them coexisted the way Mars and Earth did, equal parts resentment and disdain, self-contained loathing that may one day explode into a glitter bomb of hostility. Similar, in fact, to how she and Denold had lived that last year of their marriage. Wren raised her eyebrow and turned back to her station. Telemetry would be a fun thing to look up. God damn it. She couldn't access that either. This was getting ridiculous. Wren looked across the bay to Lanson's office, the one that was usually Gloria's and would hopefully be Gloria's again. Lanson wasn't there, of course, not for the night shift. A man like Lanson wasn't made for mids. Lanson wanted her to do his paperwork. That would naturally allow her to be in that office. In fact, he preferred she logged into his station as him in order to eliminate any paper trail indicating someone else was doing his busy work. Wren chewed on her stylus, not sure if she was trying to talk herself out of her next potential action or in. When 14-year-old Karenna Yilmaz had worked for Milnesh province of Kalaras, her job had been the top secret sort, operating against the other city-states like Ptolemons and First Colony and Shenzhou. And then the entire colony planet voted in a referendum to unify, no longer a collection of ethno-nationalist states, but instead one planet speaking with one voice, the better to represent their interests to the Union. That meant former spies like Wren were no longer welcome on Karalis, no longer welcome in the entire Alpha Centauri system. Wren decided to cut her losses, nope out of there, and get off that rock. But a few years ago, Milners came calling again, wanted her to spy on behalf of all of Karalis to help their bid of independence from the Union. And ancients bless her, Wren had agreed. She knew how to get her access back, and it wasn't a big deal anyway. She had the clearance, just not the proper credentials to log in. Her access to Lanson's computer was firewalled, but it just so happened she had a way to break through it. Milnersk had provided her with a piggyback code made just for this purpose. If she got caught, it was over for her. She had gotten away with it before, but before she was using it for a greater cause. Before she had a moral imperative. But since that time, she had sent a message back to Milnersk, telling them she was done. Lanson saw her send the message. He didn't know exactly what she was doing that day at the comms relay, but he knew enough to be suspicious. And now what was she doing? Using the code on the workstation of a man who was already out to get her, and doing it for her personal gain, not a larger cause. She shouldn't do it. But she had done the right thing before, putting that vial in the evidence bag to be processed instead of turning it over to the spy masters on her home planet. And look, it got her nothing. Nada. Zilch. And what was one more bad decision? At least this way, she could figure out what was happening, where they were in time, why it felt personal to her. You know what? Screw it. The secrets of Lanson's computer opened up to her, and she began searching.